Hey, it's Conrad, the mortgage guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad, you over there on the ones and twos, and I guess you could say we're bringing it during afternoon drive today. Been quite the busy day here. Got the Vols on the screen over here. They're playing top-ranked Houston. They're number 3 ranked. My daughter's playing ball. I pressed pause on that game. Had a full AEW media today. We're going to talk about all kinds of things, but I hope you bring it. I've been talking, Conrad, kind of like you every day, but since real early. I feel like I've talked all day. Talked a lot of Thanksgiving. Anyway, fun stories. So what do you got on your mind today, pal?
Well, what's on my mind is AEW Dynamite tomorrow night in Nashville. Jeff's going to be there. I'm going to be there. You should be too. Tickets are on sale now at AEWTIX.com. Jeff, I know you've done the media rounds today. I don't know. Am I correct in saying that AEW is running a new venue in Nashville?
You know what? And look, I went to the ESPN affiliate, Super Talk affiliate, Cumulus, local, WNSR, all kind. And, that was the one thing that kind of naturally I've been into all these stations multiple times through the years, but it's hard for me to do a first in Nashville, but everybody's going to be able to party. Even you, Conrad, the very first professional wrestling, global HBO Max around the world, but AEW is holding professional wrestling at the pinnacle. I think that's going to be really, really cool. New venue, Paul McCartney, Eric Church, some other opening acts have played there, Conrad. So we're bringing in the main event. No, it'll be fun. It is. I've heard nothing but great things about the Pinnacle Nashville.
I can't wait to see the Pinnacle Nashville. I've never been there, and I'm looking forward to it because we're going to get to see, I think, the new AEW World Champion, a guy who you got to know real well in TNA. Samoa Joe is the new world champ. Were you shocked? Were you surprised? What'd you think, Jeff?
You know what? If you'd have asked me at midnight, Saturday night, I might have said, oh, wow, okay. That surprised me. But as every day that's kind of gone along, I look back on it and go, you know what? Samoa Joe, with the right timing, and anybody who listens to this podcast knows that I'm a fan of Samoa Joe and have been for a long time. I can't say today I'm completely shocked, but maybe it's just because time has set in. But I think Saturday night caught a lot of folks off guard, and I'm going to take that as a positive, Conrad, because you can always second guess yourself from a creative perspective, and nowadays the narrative can go one way or another, whether it's validated or not. But I do think catching people off guard is a positive. I think it's a net positive, but we'll see. Joe has been there before multiple times. So I'm curious to see where Hangman, how and when he steps up on this.
I guess what's interesting about Samoa Joe is he's such a unique performer. Like, even when he's not necessarily in the world title picture, because we know he's been doing the trios and he's the trios champ, a guy of that caliber with that sort of, maybe the right word is credibility. It's no surprise that he's there, right?
No. And that is something, gosh, you look back on lineages, I guess you could say, of titles. A couple of different things come to my mind, where it's the territory day or the world title day. How many title reigns did Harley have? 7? No, 6, 5,
4, 3, 2. I don't know.
But you know what? It's like, oh, Harley won the belt back. Shouldn't be a surprise.
8.
Yeah. Okay. Joe carries himself. Man, you look at his career. It's quite the story in a lot of ways, to me, that he came in and got on a roll, and in a lot of ways he's had his ups and downs, but his audience, or our audience, or the audience, once he gets rolling in a match, he knows he's a pro's pro. He knows how to get it done.
How many times were you world champ? Do you know?
Well, 12 time is how they announce it. Some people say 13, but anyway, 6 NWA, 4 WCW, 2 Mexico. I don't know. It depends on kind of how you, now it's, what do you classify? But I always think the AAA championship for me ranks right up there as important as any of them. Just kind of the stature and yes, it was not in the U.S., but man, oh man, Mexico covers a lot of ground, a lot of shows, a lot of performers. I think quite a bit of prestige as well.
Google AI says 11 world championship reigns, 6 for the NWA TNA, 4 for WCW, and 2 AAAs. So they call it 11. I think they're shortchanging you. We gotta write a letter to Google.
6 plus 4 plus 2 in my book in Tennessee now. Is it Alabama math?
That's what they say. I'm reading it to you. Jeff Jarrett has had 11. They call it 6, 4, and 2. And they say that's 11.
Okay. Well,
so I'm saying we got to write a letter to Google.
Google, X, Chat GPT, they're all 100%, foolproof.
Let's go over to Cage Match and see what they think. Maybe they can give us the information. Hey, I do want to ask you, were you surprised that Chris Statlander was victorious over Mercedes Moné?
We did 0 hour, and oh, what a 0 hour it was. Man, and I'll say it, I seesawed, I flip-flopped back and forth on a couple of the matches. I wasn't real sure, but I predicted Stat winning. And Conrad, when you look at the amount of wins that she has had in her time in AEW, she was on the shelf for almost 2 years. Shout out Alex Marvez. He fills me with all these kind of different stats, and I'll request a little bit more, or this slant or that slant. But when you look, and Mercedes, 13 champions, 13 belts, or whatever it may be, and she's won a lot. But man, oh man, Stat has done nothing but win in her time. She's hard to beat. So I didn't think, on this stage, I just didn't think there would be. I didn't think Mercedes would end up with the belt that night, and she didn't. Did that surprise you? It sounds like you were a little bit caught off guard, huh?
No, I called Stat. I thought, for a variety of reasons, but I thought Statlander would win. I thought it would mean more for her to win, and I thought, hypothetically, logistically, if Mercedes is ever going to start dropping some of those independent titles, I don't know if you want your AEW champ taking a pin in those. So I picked Statlander.
Okay.
But I don't know that everybody picked Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe is my favorite television wrestler, not named Jeff. And he beat Kyle Fletcher for the TNT championship. A lot of people were surprised by this. You have sort of circled Kyle Fletcher as a guy that you think could be the guy in AEW, but you want to talk about the ultimate utility player from the silly to the serious. I don't think anybody does it as seamlessly as Mark Briscoe, and he's your new TNT champ. Are you surprised by that?
It'd be silly for me to say that I was surprised, although Kyle Fletcher, Don Callis family, I already had it in my mind, Conrad, Mark raising hell within being a member. I think I let my expectations get the best of me. But, I could just see in him being the rowdy, rebellious Don Callis member. I'm curious to see that where Kyle goes from this, because I think the building blocks, I think his foundation is there. Now I think we need to continue to build on it. So my gut tells me he's headed back for a rematch on Briscoe. But my God, those boys lay it all on the line. And, that New Jersey crowd, I don't say just like a Philly crowd, but, they can be up and down. Briscoe brought it, and I thought in a real positive way. Briscoe, this may be taken this is not a criticism of Kyle. I thought Briscoe brought the best out of Kyle.
I thought it was fantastic. Highly recommend it. I think we both think a lot of both of those guys. Go out of your way to see it. It was an incredible pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. A lot of people were saying it might be the pay-per-view card of the year for AEW.
Whoa.
That was a big statement, but I saw a lot of people saying they hit a home run. Did you feel the same way at the end of the night? Because I did.
I mean, I thought it was very good. I think, look, the 6-man tag was fantastic, but I thought it was a challenging card. Mox in a single, Joe in a single, 5, I don't know, I'm forgetting the stat now, I covered it, but there were quite a few single matches, and I think those kind of cards can be challenging, but the cadence of the night, nobody does pay-per-view better than AEW. It just rolled, and I thought, I'm going to go back to the very early part of the night, and we're both big fans of QT. I thought the Rizzler and Big Boom, I don't know if it translated on TV, Conrad, but I was up doing 0 hour during that, and you could hear, I mean, it was at times tough. Renee's such a pro, being able to hold it all together and get traffic in the truck, and we're hyping different things, but there's a different backbeat going on with the match. Man, the building was rattling 2 or 3 times for the QT match. So I thought that was very interesting. There he is. You folks who've joining us live, we appreciate you on YouTube, but does Rizzler got, is that just not just a money face, a money pose? Look at him, Conrad.
I love it. And by the way, I want to give a little love and a shout out here. I've said this to you before, and I took a little bit of heat on it for it online, but I'll do it again. I'll double down. I think QT Marshall might actually be one of the most underrated and misunderstood wrestlers on the IWC. Don't you think?
I couldn't agree more. Conrad, I had this conversation actually twice on Saturday. No, my bad. Once on Saturday, once on Sunday, twice over the weekend. And it kind of went into, and I gave just kind of the whole layout, if you will, of this match and the ups and downs of the nights. And I'm just saying the roller coaster of the night. And I said, the uniqueness that I believe you have to have a trained ear for is that people can react to, I'll call it a highly violent move, glass, tacks, tables, chairs, whatever. And you get a reaction. You also get a reaction. I'll say a Will Ospreay move. That's just, AJ used to get them all the time. And I would say, hey man, your athleticism wows people like to a whole nother level. There's so much upside in that. And then also I think people react or respond to emotional attachment or being entertained. So I'll call it kind of the entertainment. The QT match and QT in other places, he's not going to do a Will Ospreay crazy spot or highly athletic or a violent, but gathering the emotion, that's where I think there's so much money in that type of performance. And I just thought it was such a contrast to a lot of other things on the show. It really, really, really to me makes a difference when the people respond from a emotional, hey, I'm entertained by that outcome. So I think that's one of the reasons I liked it so much.
Well, we like that we're live on YouTube, and I see some really good questions rolling in. If you got a question for Jeff, hit us up. But I got to tell you, there should be no question when it comes to the perfect Christmas present. I'm talking about the perfect gene. Anytime you see Double J on AEW TV, buddy, let me assure you, he's rocking the perfect gene. And he does it because it's comfortable, it's stretchy, and it looks sharp. And listen, if you know anything about wrestlers, you know they want to look good, but they also want it to be comfortable. No longer are these guys rocking Zubaz. Now they're rocking the perfect gene. And it's probably the best value around because the perfect gene has redefined what jeans can be. No more crushed nuts or saggy diaper butts, just pure, soft, stretchy perfection. Life's too short for denim that fights you every step of the way. These are jeans that move with you, whether you're chasing kids, tackling chores, or just chilling like a boss. Over 400,000 old, young, and big, even small men agree. Over 30,000 men have tried the perfect gene and given it 5 stars online. If you're looking for denim that's so stretchy, it's like yoga ready. In fact, I've seen DDP on his back balcony at the beach doing yoga in his perfect jeans, but you're also going to look sharp enough to turn some heads like old Double J does. They're so comfortable, you'll forget you're wearing them. I want to mention too, Perfect Gene has 6 fits, a big size range from 26 to 50-inch waist, links up to 38. That means you've got 5,000 different ways to make your perfect match. You no longer have to settle for jeans that aren't exactly what you love. The perfect jean has you covered. They've also got the holy grail of den khakis. They're going to look sharp for the office, but still feel stretchy and comfortable. They've got lots of other cool stuff that keeps you looking sharp and staying cool too. But this is the perfect gift for a guy who's hard to buy from. They will instantly become his favorite jeans. And listen, let's be real. You could get any kind of gift, but you want to get somebody a gift that they're actually going to use and they're going to remember you. They won't forget the perfect jean. And right now, for a limited time, our listeners can get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc. Or just Google the perfect jean and use the code Jarrett15 for 15% off. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc using the promo code Jarrett15. And after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the perfect jean.
Yes, sir.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time to count down the top 5. Brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Boom. We're all over the place.
We're all over the place. I'm fired up for this top 5. We were talking about the top 5 for the hell of a hand today. And I'm excited about this because I feel like we were just talking about a guy who probably checks that box. At least when I think about a guy who's a hell of a hand, I think of a guy who understands his role in wrestling in that, hey, the match only works if someone gets over. Not necessarily who goes over, but making sure that we understand the mission. Someone needs to get over. And I've seen QT do that on Independence, at your Pigfest show, on a lot of AEW pre-shows. So I think QT would be an excellent guy to think about as one of those top 5. So we asked Jeff, who are his top 5 hell of a hand? We hear that expression all the time. We want to know right now, we're live on YouTube. Let us know in the comments, who are your top 5 hell of a hands? Who do you think qualifies? Coming in at number 5 for old Double J, probably no surprise, Brad Armstrong. Jeff, how is Brad Armstrong number 5? Why does he come in on your list here?
Well, and I'll go with inside baseball. You know, when you guys threw this at me, hell of a hand, I think that phrasing and terminology has kind of changed over the years. And maybe that's just me, maybe over analyzing it, but you know, it's I think it can take on a lot of meetings, but how you just phrased it, somebody that knows how to do their own job, maybe their opponent's job, at times maybe the ref's job. If it's a tag or a 6-man situation, maybe do everybody else's job, not just a ring general. What you just said is putting all the pieces together at the right time, at the right place. But, you know, I think there can be a guy who literally stays in opening match their entire career, or somebody who works their way up to the main event. There's different forms of hell of a hand, but Brad was a guy that from a creative process, no matter who is the booker, I can assure you, you know, Brad's a little bit older than me, but you know, you just hear the stories, but me and Road Dogg and stories of me talking to Pep or Bullet, I call him Pep. But just Brad's ability, and he was taught by none other than the man himself, Bullet Bob Armstrong, and that came from that kind of generation of, hey man, you're going to have to get in the ring, and you're going to have to understand, literally, not just what to do in this specific match, where you're at on a card. A lot of times, if you're in the opening match or second match or third match, you don't want to do things that are going to be quote unquote done in the main event. And you might or may not want to use a manager or valet for a certain stop spot. So you really have to know, be self-aware in a lot of ways. In a lot of times, as you know, the basketball junkie, I always kind of relate hell of a hand. It's like that 6-man award in the NBA. They come off the bench, but there's nothing that they can't do. And so that's kind of how I look at a hell of a hand. And Brad was certainly, he could have been 1, he could have been 5, he could have been anywhere on this list.
Coming in at number 4 on Jeff's list, so the top 5 hell of a hands, Jerry Lynn. We see him all the time backstage in AEW. He's helping the next generation now, but once upon a time, he was helping a lot of folks bell to bell. Tell us why Jerry Lynn qualifies for your list.
Look at Jerry's career. Him and X-Pac, Six Pack, Lightning Kid, if you will, back in the Minnesota days, were the early days, but Jerry and ECW. But obviously, the reason I could not have had a list like this without Jerry, in my opinion, you take Jerry Lynn out of TNA X Division in the early days, and I'm not sure you have the X Division as a division that really worked itself into equally as important as the heavyweight. Yeah, creative was a process, but the in-ring product is what always matters. And Jerry knew how to. I mean, his list of talent, not just AJ, but Low Key, Amazing Red. I could go, the Flying Elvises, Sanjay, Jay Lethal in the early days, but Jerry was a guy for many, many years that really knew how to put things together. And if it was an X Division opening match, you're going to work that a little bit different if you work a semi or main event X Division match. So Jerry, without question, had to be on there.
Coming in at number 3 on Jeff's top 5 lists of the top 5 hell of a hands. Jeff, I'm interested in this one. Arn Anderson. That's a fun one. Tell me about Arn.
Arn made everybody better. No matter, I don't know if you've seen that meme around that goes around wrestlers for their, I think, 7th grade or high school pictures. And it's, it's legitimately Hogan and others, they're high school or junior high kids. And Arn's a picture when he first broke in. But Arn, from the day he broke in, he looked like a veteran. And, around the other guys in his, not just Four Horsemen, but, in his territory and then working his way up. Arn, you take him out, just like I said, Jerry, out of the X Division. Take Arn out of the Four Horsemen through the years. Yeah. I just don't think you really have the same glue or nucleus. Yeah, Flair's all the glitz and the glamour and everything that went with it. But, if you, the yin and yang out of it, you take Arn away from Flair in the Four Horsemen setting. Look, and Tully came and went, and Barry, you just saw that, and Sid and Ole, and lots of others through there. Rick and Arn were really the constant, and I think that goes a long way. Arguably, I know NWO's number 1 faction. I would assume on everybody's list, but if not, but Four Horsemen's right up there, and so yeah, I mean. That's when you really look at somebody's value, is if you look back on it and say, what if, as Conrad teaches us, what happens if there was no Arn Anderson, the Four Horsemen? I don't think we'd be talking them the same way today.
I'm glad you said that, because I have a what if ready for you.
Let's hear it.
So you're a basketball junkie, self-admitted, right?
Oh, I'm watching UT right now. Going to get thumped probably, but that's okay. And my daughter's YouTube game, I've got it on pause. So when I hang up, no. What you got?
What if?
Oh boy, I can tell the folks, the wheels are churning.
If Jordan didn't exist, how would we talk about Scottie Pippen?
You don't want to know my answer.
I do.
Unfortunately, we had 2 years to find that out.
He led the league in scoring and other stats.
Yeah, yep, and no championships.
I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying, I'm asking how people are talking about LeBron like he's the greatest player of all time, and he keeps losing in the championship. So
yeah,
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there is no Jordan.
Yep.
Pippen's the guy. I think when people think about Scottie Pippen, they think of him as being in the passenger seat for Jordan driving. I can't disagree with that. Everybody agrees with that.
But great.
Unbelievable. When you look at his stats, it's unbelievable. And respectfully, Jordan, when he didn't have Pippen at the Wizards, he didn't do shit either. I know we can say he's older and all that. I'm not arguing that, but I'm just saying Pippen, I think, could have been one of the all-time greats. When you look at his all-time stats, defensive player of the year and other stuff, it can't be debated that he's an all-time great, but it seldom gets mentioned because of who his teammate was. So I was going to make the analogy that just what you said about Arn, that he was the glue that held the Horsemen together, I would almost say he was the Triple H of DX. And I know some people listening to that are going to say, oh no, because Triple H won the world title. When exactly did that happen? When Shawn left. So I'm just saying hypothetically, if there was an opportunity for Arn to be an old school NWA world champion, he checks every box for me. Promos, drawing money, making guys look good. In the same vein that a Jack Briscoe, a Terry Funk, a Dory Funk, that sort of thing. I think Arn checked all those boxes, don't you?
I do. And so hypothetically, as you're going, no Jordan, I think we would have been talking about Pippen and being almost nobody debates how good a player Charles Barkley was. Like the round mound to rebound, scoring tenacity. He was just unbelievable competitor. He's great. That's why I think moment in time, a Flair Arn, a Jordan Pippen, I think when it's happening, people don't realize how great it is because Pippen was great, but Jordan was the greatest. And so I do think I'll go there. I'll say you're saying take Flair out of the equation and Arn is NWA world champ. I guess the thing that I'd like to ask is take Arn out of the equation. Does Flair's career look different? Because it's, I would say easy, but when you're the touring world champion, you've got multiple champions that keep going on. But when you get on a national stage, you got to be able to go into tags and singles, and because you have the, I'll say it, the same audience week after week after week after week. Who did those really money drawing promos out of the Four Horsemen? In my opinion, it wasn't Rick. It wasn't really JJ. It was Arn. So does Rick, I think Jordan's career looks different big time without Pippen, and I think Flair's career would look big time different. So we're kind of saying the same. I think we are saying the same thing, but it's fun to go down that road.
He led the league in steals in 95. He won the NBA All-Star Game MVP in 94, 6-time NBA champion, 7-time NBA All-Star, NBA's 50th anniversary All-Team, 8-time All-Defensive First Team, 2-time All-Defensive Second Team. I mean, the dude dominated, but whenever people talk about the Bulls, they always talk about Jordan, and I think Arn Anderson kind of has that same treatment. We want to know from you guys. Let us know below. And let's talk about who number 2 is on Jeff's list of the top 5 best hands. Hell of a hand. Now, this one I kind of expected. George South. Criminally underrated, longtime journeyman, enhancement worker, whatever you want to call him. But whether he was working with Flair or he was working on Monday Night Raw, he understood his assignment and he was going to make sure that dude got over. Tell me about George South.
Well, when you talk about hell of a hand, and so we've had Brad, we've had Jerry Lynn, we've had Arn, and I'll just say this: all of those guys were put into the ring with seasoned vets or up and comers that had a lot of talent, but for the most part, they made a career out of working up their opponents. Will say at least being close to on their level. George is the guy that when you had a guy into the territory who may be green, but he needs to get some wins or Nate might need to get some reps or this or that or this or that, is that so George, not a one-off, not just occasionally, George made a damn career of showing up to work and knowing when he walked in there with his bag and threw it down that he was probably going to get the worst worker in the dressing room. I've just always had a crazy amount of respect for George in that he understood his role, and his role was never going to be a night off. It was never going to be easy. He was always going to, hey, George, hey, I know this guy's kind of limited and it's a TV match and we'd really prefer not for it to go 3 or 4 minutes. So I know he's probably going to potato you 4 or 5 times, and damn, man, just do your best. But and we'll edit it if we have to, but we'd rather not. But so George is given this menu of almost at times impossible mountains to overcome, and then George goes out there, and the match isn't just good; it's maybe the best match of this kid's career, and that didn't happen occasionally; it happened very, very often for George's almost entire career. So there's no way I was going to have a list without George.
Last but certainly not least, coming in at number 1 on Jeff's list of the top 5 hell of a hands. I gotta admit, didn't see this one coming. Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli. Talk to me about this.
Well, go back and look at his career. And I know you know, well, I mean, Cesaro to this day, and now Claudio is, God, he's got to be 20 years in, right? Yeah. Right, getting right in there. But he and I'm talking about not just his AEW career, but his WWE career. He was yanked around all over the card. And there was a time that when he came through the curtain and essentially, ding, ding, the people knew, all right, we're about to see Cesaro do his job, his opponent's job. He's going to get us up. He's going to do the swing. He's going to do a couple of feats of strength that we're not going to see coming. And this guy's going to look great. That's him. It's just really hard to digest how good a guy he is year in, year out. And look, it goes without saying, I'm sure him and Mox go way back on different levels, but there's a reason he's in his spot to this day in the Death Riders, is because he checks every box and knows exactly main event, he can do it. Opening match, he can do it. Anything in between, he can do it.
We got some suggestions here on YouTube. Trigger Cheese says Ziggler. That's a good one. What do you think about Ziggler?
I thought about Zig. That's again, it really depends on how you define Dolph, because Dolph was all over the place through. I mean, I'm talking about placement on the card. But look, there's probably 20 or 30 guys that I had on the card off. This was not an easy one. This is super subjective. I could have had, I'm not kidding you, 2 or 3 other lists. I don't know. It's hard for me to put one down without Jerry Lynn and George South. The other 3, I think, in a lot of ways, interchangeable. In the value that I put behind, I've already explained why.
We got some more suggestions here. Mr. Tosh says Chris Canyon, Peter Avalon, Amazing Red, Marty Jannetty, Hechicero. These are all good suggestions. Pyrus Wrestling says Dolph Ziggler, QT Marshall, Barry Horowitz, Shark Boy, and he's got number 1, Serpentico. How about that? A little love for Serpentico.
And Luther. They were the kings of the AEW Dark for years. See, that's what I'm saying. This is, you talk about, and I appreciate all the feedback and the interaction here, because again, keep them coming. Because this topic could go on. Conrad, do you have not any of the 5 I named? Do you have one in the back? One in the back of your mind that is almost a no-brainer to you in your fandom? Top 5 hands.
Matthew Elvis Presley suggests Johnny Rods, Tito Santana, Mike Sharp, Greg Valentine, Rick Martel. There's a lot of really good ones on this list.
Wow. Rick Martel, I mean, he's a world champion. So that's why, in my mind, how do you put him as just a hell of a hand? That's what
Claudio was too. Ring of Honor, if you count that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's the classification, how you do it. You got one, Conrad, or you got more coming in? Do you have a no-brainer in your, because I think it's our fandom, obviously our perception.
I mean, listen, again, we know him to be really, really talented. But I think of a guy like Dean Malenko. I know he was the cruiserweight champion, but he wasn't necessarily in the main events. But I don't think I ever saw Dean Malenko have a bad match.
Yeah. Wow.
A guy like that. Well, we want to know from you guys. Let us know in the comments who your top 5 hell of a hands are. It's really, really hard to pick one. Speaking of hard, this episode is brought to you by Blue Chew. Guys, if you haven't already, why aren't you trying this? Blue Chew is not just a tablet. It's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership, Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And guys, it's not just about performance. It's about your legacy, or your third leg. Let's see. Give her group chat something to talk about. You know, when you lay it down, they're talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Go discover your options right now at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use the promo code MyWorld at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to bluechew.com for details and important safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. And Jeff, is it true that the Queen's favorite kind of cardio comes after a Blue Chew? Is that real? I saw that online.
A buddy of mine who used to put on makeup and wear a white suit, kind of slick his hair back. I think he always would say rumor and innuendo.
Yeah, I remember that. I've heard that.
Something along those lines. He lives in Connecticut now, but I think that's rumor and innuendo. That's all.
What kind of cardio does she like better?
Horizontal.
Stairmaster?
Horizontal.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Boy, I asked for it and I didn't expect it.
Got it.
Next week, we're going to be doing a top 5 for the best wrestlers who delivered the best promos. If you want to get in early, leave us your nominations below. There's so many great talkers in the history of wrestling. We could do a whole episode about that, don't you think?
Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah. Oh Lord. I love doing Nashville media because I get to talk what we talk about off air as opposed to on air, get into different conversations. But, it's a subjective and everybody has their favorite, but I won't give out the one that I talked about today because that'll give away. So that's my homework. Top 5, Conrad.
Your best talkers, your best interviews.
Yeah.
Johnny Z3 is with us and he wants to know, when are we getting a Gail Kim episode? I don't know if you saw over the weekend, but she made her GCW debut. I say next week we talk about Gail Kim here on the program. What do you think?
What? That episode has been baking. So
it's ready.
I work Saturday, obviously. Full Gear, 0 hour. Do you want to tell me what happened? Because anyway, maybe we talk about that next week, but she didn't wrestle, did she?
We'll talk about it next week. Stay tuned. Gail Kim coming up next week right here on My World.
Okay.
We just came up with the idea. We haven't teased it for months or anything like that.
Michael
has a great comment I think you'll like. He says, I'm not a DraftKings person, but I enjoyed the segment last week in the 0 hour segment. Did he get signed to AEW? How about that? We got some love for DraftKings here on the program.
Hey, Silva, will you clip this and send that to me? I got to send that. But me and Steve, we actually sat down in catering and chatted about a few things in that, Karen was not a big fan of fantasy football back in the day. She's come to kind of accept it now, but it makes you watch football obviously differently. But me and Steve were talking about that, our audience and look, everything is not for everybody. It's just not. Some people may or may not like this match or that match. Look, when you have 4 hours of a pay-per-view, an hour of tailgate, so you got 5 hours of wrestling, you're not going to like everything. That's a given. But with the DraftKings element, Connie, it was so cool. And then, we talked about the Samoa Joe and Hangman match and 3.5 over under on buckshot lariats and muscle busters combined. Well, then they added the cage stipulation, Conrad. That threw a whole nother twist. So it really does make you watch wrestling in a way, a different level. So I'm all for it. Steve had a great time. Great guest. He'll be back.
He certainly will. We had a great time. And we've got another great question here I want to ask you about. They want your opinion about the 2025 class of the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. Of course, we did an episode on the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. And I thought, hey, you know what? Let's put a button on it and talk a little bit about that. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Sabu, Gran Hamada, Spiros Arion, Doral Dixon, Bobby Bruns, and Raul Paoli. I was kind of surprised Sabu got in, but not surprised at the same time. What'd you think?
Wait, is that the whole list that got in?
Yes, that's who went in this year. So Punk got the most votes from his region and is recognized for his significant impact on modern wrestling. Cody Rhodes, his induction is noted for his key role in the creation of AEW and his subsequent success in WWE. Sabu is acknowledged for his pioneering influence on deathmatch wrestling and his role in ECW. Those are the big three that most of our listeners are going to be familiar with. Of those big three, any of those shock you?
You know what? And we went over it in detail, and no, of course, none of them shocked me. Um, the thing that I guess in a lot of ways that Cody is in his prime, and I can't say Punk is really out of it. He's the current world champ. So I'm not going to say he's athletically in his prime or any of that, but he's up there. And so I think there is, to me, a little bit of a hesitation on, wait, shouldn't they kind of be at least on the backside of their career before we start talking Hall of Fames? But I know the Wrestling Observer is not like that. But all three of those, in my opinion, and we talked about Sabu on here in that, and Conrad, was that you, the one that said, hey, when a person passes away, there's a little bit of a emotional backdraft or tailwind, if you will. I still think Sabu, would have got in next year or the next year if he wouldn't have been eligible this year because of the timing or whatever it may be, even if a little more time had passed. He was just because they don't make that, there'll never be another Sabu at all. And I'm saying that in a positive way. Every place he worked, he had a uniqueness to him, and he knew how to connect with the audience. It's crazy. And look, I think at times, I don't want to call them miss spots, but spots that they looked at times like, oh my God, he's going to kill himself, his opponent, maybe 2 or 3 rows at ringside. He had a sense of flair and dramatic that you just don't put in a bottle. So I'm happy to see him get in there. I really am.
I find it interesting that you said, shouldn't we wait until these guys are on the backside of their career? I'm a big CM Punk fan, but he started wrestling in 97. It's been 28 years.
Okay. That's when you put it in that context. Yes. And Cody's probably been wrestling 20.
19. He started in 06.
Yeah. So that's that in my mind, maybe not how Val Barkley started. They're both in the main events today.
They're both the world champs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That I think that's where maybe, I don't know. Interesting. But obviously, we're not true sport. So it's a different set of rules. So
Brian F is with us here, and he says, live with Double J on a Tuesday night. What a treat. Trigger Cheese says, I think Cena, or do you think Cena ever had real heat besides the ECW reunions? I think he was just overexposed. It became cool to boo him. And if it was a 4-way, it was a way for fans to make themselves a part of the show. I don't think any fans ever really hated to see him. I agree with that. I think fans wanted to participate. It was audience participation, but I don't think anybody ever really hated John Cena besides the ECW crowds, right?
We could probably spend a little time on this. Not sure that you want to. Conrad, I'm going to say I'm going the other way from Chugga. Chugga, shout out, my man. Always appreciate you listening and asking some thought-provoking questions. And the reason I say that is that, it's the old Jerry Jarrett, I can't relate to how that person's thinking or talking. Well, that's exactly the point he used to try to make to me. You don't think, you don't talk. There was a time, and I'll relate it back to territory days, that Jimmy Hart had a boatload of heat in Memphis. See, Jerry Lawler and a lot of people hated Jimmy, but there were some people that just really thought Jimmy, here's this little wiry guy, former rock star, that they really liked him. And people were like, you need to tell me you really like Jimmy Hart? Yeah, I do. I really like Jimmy Hart. So I think Cena, again, I think that's why he transcends a lot of, you can't put him in a box. He's definitely, can he wrestle? Oh, Cena can't wrestle. Oh yeah, he can. If you really understand the business, he's up there at the very tip top. He may not be the most athletic guy, or he's damn strong, but not maybe the strongest guy or the most polished guy, but his ability to communicate with the audience, I think he has very few peers. And so I think his authenticity rubs people, some, not everybody, not the majority, but there are some people that just despise John's, and I think it's maybe a reflection of themselves, and that's why wrestling is such a it is such a human experiment that when you kind of see how different people respond to different talent, So I'm going to say, yes, there is a segment, not real big, but there is a segment of wrestling fans that despise everything about Cena. And I think what is probably that pushes the buttons is that he's so unapologetically authentic. And that rubs some people the wrong way because they just can't relate to it.
By the way, speaking of relating, I don't know that we'll ever relate to AI. You mentioned earlier, or we mentioned earlier, that Google said you were an 11-time champion, but they counted out 12. I asked Grok, and it says you're a 14-time champion.
Stop it.
They called it 3 from the NWA, 4 from WCW, 2 from AAA. They counted the King of the Mountain Championship, and they counted the WWA World Heavyweight Champion. And they said independent / other titles like Rey de Reyes are occasionally counted variably. So yeah, they're saying 14 times. They even give a final answer at the bottom. So Google says 11,
Grok,
even though they count out 12, and Grok says 14.
Who owns Grok?
Twitter.
Okay. Elon. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. Oh boy. I don't know. That's all another. Well, on AI, have you ever kind of asked them to explain their answer and then respond to them and say, no, you're lying, and see how they respond?
No. I know that's your deal though. I remember there was a skit with RJ City where you just looked at him and said, you're lying. So I appreciated that. Pin Down Podcast says, Mr. Jarrett, here's a what if question. I know you've stated before that getting Kurt Angle was your dream acquisition for TNA, but if Eddie Guerrero didn't pass away, would he have been the second pick?
Second? Are you kidding me? Yes. Eddie again was a guy that, oh boy. I mean, especially during the time that, we're talking, Kurt was 05, 06, 07, that era. And we're talking 08, 09, 010, around there. Spike was really heavily trying to market to Hispanics. And so Eddie, oh boy. Yeah. You talk about a fun what if story and kind of a dream scenario. Can you imagine having those guys 1 and 2 on that roster? It would have, again, when you look at it, how much I think Eddie would have elevated Kurt in a real positive way. I think Eddie would have elevated the brand. I think he would have put the value on our brand, specifically to Viacom, to another level. Look at all the matchups, an Eddie Guerrero, AJ Styles feud, Eddie Guerrero, Samoa Joe feud. You just kind of look at not just the box office attraction and the ratings, but the story, because Eddie could talk. Oh man, Conrad, that's a appreciate the question. That's a fun one to kind of go down.
Well, another fun one to kind of go down is our friends at Soul. I'm a big believer in this product, especially right here during the holidays. When the holiday season rolls around, it feels like there's a party every weekend. All the sugary drinks add up. And I'm reaching for Soul's out of office gummies instead. The same fun vibe, low in calories, 0 hangover. And man, I just don't think you can beat it. They've got lots of different options. I'm going to tell you about those. Their best-selling out of office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, enhance your creativity and relaxation. They've got 5 different strengths. You can tailor the dose to fit your vibe. You can get a gentle 1.5 milligram microdose, and they've even got a new 15 milligram gummy for a more elevated experience. I like the 10 milligrams. It works perfectly for me. My wife likes the 1.5. My buddy Cassio, he rolls with the 15. No matter what you're picking, you should know that Soul is a wellness brand that believes that feeling good should be fun and easy. Soul specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products designed to boost your mood and help you unwind. They've even got an out-of-office beverage. It's a refreshing, alcohol-free alternative. It's perfect for winding down on the couch or socializing with friends. And especially if you're looking for something to get a better night's rest, you need to check out Soul, because they've got the sleepy gummies. If you want that deep restorative sleep, buddy, this is for you. With wellness at the forefront, you can feel good about what you're putting in your body. All of Soul's products are made from organically farmed, USA grown hemp, and they're all vegan, gluten free, low in sugar, and yes, federally legal. Take advantage of Soul's Black Friday / Cyber Monday deal right now. For a limited time, you can get 40% off your entire order. Just go to getsoul.com and use the code MyWorld. That's getsoul.com. The promo code is MyWorld, and you'll get 40% off. That's GETSOUL.com, and the promo code is MyWorld for 40% off. Don't miss the biggest and best deal of the year. Getsoul.com, promo code MyWorld. Jeff, we got some more fun questions I want to hit you with here. The Outlaw Seeker says, someone said the main reason the early 2000s, the reason you remained TNA world champ and Triple H was being world champ in WWE for a long time was because like men like you were more reliable back then. We've sort of explained that, in a Larry Zbyszko way from a TNA perspective, but I never thought to talk about that from a WWE perspective. Like, Triple H getting the belt for the same reason, that I don't know if that makes sense. What say you?
Through the years, I've often, and again, Outlaw Seeker, I like your handle, very much so. And I like your logo / graphic, whatever that may be. So shout out. But, Conrad, I've heard kind of for years, I guess you could say the parallel comparisons. The thing that I always know that I have to kind of go back on the set point is I was so engaged in WWE. Yes, I watch Raw, but I wasn't so engaged in, he's keeping the belt on this and that. And so I didn't really live through all that era. I will say that, that was a part of one of my media interviews today, that when you kind of look around the industry and look, Conrad, we could take whatever territory you wanted. Lawler here, Dusty there, the Von Erichs there in the territories. Then when it went national, you had Hogan, and Hogan really seized the opportunity. Yes, Vince McMahon said, you're my guy, but those two worked in tandem. But Hogan, he took the bull by the horns in a lot of ways. I think you got to give the exact same credit to Stone Cold when his opportunity came up. He grabbed the bull by the horns, and I mean, he rode it and took off. Unfortunate injury, but there's no doubt that nothing was given to Steve, like at all. And you had Mick and you had others around it, but Steve really took ownership. I'm the top guy. I'm selling most merch. I'm going to throw my weight around. And I'm saying that as a positive. Every top guy has. Then you kind of look at Cena when Cena stepped in, and hey, man, him and Vince obviously had a good relationship, but he took the bull by the horns as well and took that top guy. And so when you kind of look at all of those guys that I'm talking about, babyface, through the years, now Punk, and I said he started wrestling in 97. You said that, all this, but you kind of look at where we're at right now in different eras. And for us as a company at TNA and Triple H being the world champion before Cena really had established himself, from a creative perspective, until that babyface is the undeniable top guy, from a creative perspective, it's so much more, not just the smart business thing to do, but more from your creative arc, is that you give babyfaces that opportunity. And if they really catch your lightning in a bottle, then you go with them. For me at TNA, I know without question, yes, I was, one of the owners, and it was safe. And yes, I was reliable and all the things that go with it. But who is our top babyface to really go with it until they were ready? AJ wasn't ready, and you could go down a list, but we flipped it to Rhino and AJ and R-Truth, and we could come up with Christian and several others, but Sting there for a while. But having the anchor as your heel, and I think a lot of times Triple H, again, I can't really speak for the mindset, but it appears they didn't have that top go-to babyface. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, Conrad, but that's I think in a lot of ways, having the heel champion until there is that undeniable babyface is the smart business move.
Let's do another question here. This one comes to us from a wrestling historian. He always brings the good questions, and he wants to know, what were Vince Russo's best ideas in TNA? I'd love for you to narrow it down to one, but if you can't narrow it down to your favorite of all of his ideas in TNA, give us a couple that come to mind. You don't have to say one in particular.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, and there were so many things, and I think Vince will tell you this. I think Dutch will tell you this. Even if you back Dixie in a corner, she would say, because she always liked to hang bad ideas on anybody but Russo, and Russo had a good eye. She liked Vince and didn't care for me from time to time, but all that's water under the bridge. But I think Vince's contributions, not solely the main event mafia, I think from an episodic nature, I think the balance between me and Mick, and I didn't see that at first, but I thought it would, in hindsight's 2020, I thought the dynamic between AJ, we'll call him the front line, and the main event mafia, Vince is like, no, Jeff, we need you and Mick riding this fence. And everybody kind of thinks that Mick is going to side kind of with the new guys, and you kind of sign with the bad guys, but man, you get inner conflict. So having Jeff and Mick ride the fence in the main event mafia frontline storylines, I thought had the most compelling. I thought Vince thought through that, make it episodic. And as I look back on it, it was a real, in my opinion, now a real part of a key to the success of that story.
We'll do another one here. Pyrus Wrestling says this Monday, it'll be 28 years ago that Dustin Rhodes debuted the artist formerly known as Goldust gimmick.
Wow.
Can you imagine if Dustin did that crazy gimmick in AEW today, but with timeless Tony Storm? Boy, that's fun to think about, isn't it?
Wow.
I could get into that.
And you know what? I guess where my mind immediately went, you don't have to have Dustin. With timeless Tony and I knew Luther, and he's cast differently, but if you had the right guy to kind of play a Goldust-ish era, because of there's pal, that's got legs. That's got legs for sure.
The WFA admin says, when did TNA make enough profit to wipe out all of its output costs? Would you ever say what happened with you and Ian Rotten in IWA Mid-South? We'll talk about IWA Mid-South in a minute. Let's talk about this, because there's a narrative out there that, TNA was never profitable. They never made money. It was just a sieve. It lost money every year. Those are people who never had access to the financial documents. You did. So when did TNA crawl out of the red and into the black? What year would that have been?
When did we go spike 1 hour? 06. I always get this wrong, Conrad, because I've said it so many different times, but I want to say fall of 06, but that or was it fall of 05? Anyway,
I think it's October 1st, 2005
was the 1 hour. Right then, the money coming in, the offices that we were in, we hadn't, blown out our studio and all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of the celebration that all of a sudden, we're going to get, $7-8 million off that first deal or whatever it was, that including international, we became profitable. So no, were we paying Panda back anything at that point? Not in 05 or not through 06, but we started on our way. And then we were adding equipment, all this. Then we moved over late. We had a little bit of bump pay. When we went to 2 hours is when we were, I had this conversation last week at Dynamite. When we converted to HD, that cost a lot of money. We paid cash for that. But I think the question, I don't know, but the Spike deal made us profitable. And the 2 hours in prime, when we went from 1 to 2 hours in prime time, really upped our profitability in a big way. I think I'm answering the question. That's what they wanted to know. When did we start turning a profit?
Yep. And they also wanted to know, because I'll admit, I don't know this story. What happened with you and Ian Rotten in IWA Mid-South? I don't know about this.
To put it pleasant, he wasn't going to pay me. and I name on one hand different promoters that didn't pay me, but it was overpay. That simple.
But did you work an IWA Mid-South show?
Yes.
And he didn't pay you after the fact?
Correct.
Let's go ahead and shame the other ones. Who else is on that list? I know you had to chase one guy a couple years ago. I remember that one, but I think he eventually paid you. But who else stiffed you on pay?
I'm not going to say one out of respect for the family.
At least write it in the damn group chat, but go ahead and tell me the rest of them that you can share.
I'm trying to think because there's very few. There was a time, there's a promoter down in Memphis that worked for my dad, the territory days. Buddy Wayne, he went maybe a month, hadn't paid me. I'll catch you up, Jeff. I'll catch you up, Jeff. I'm like, buddy, what are you doing? Anyway, but he paid me. Gosh, Conrad, I'm trying because it's less than 5. I've always said that. Damn. I know Ian always jumped off the page because he just flat out said, no, and I said, oh, yes, we did agree on that number. And I have it written down here, pal. And if you want to go over in my books and talk about it, I'd had a few cocktails too by midnight. It got ugly quickly, but everything moved on. I'm trying to think, Conrad, who else? Oh, man. Give me a week to think about it, Conrad, and I'll come up with the other because it's only a couple of names.
Well, I mean, I know Vince, with help from the arena, he squared up with you.
He squared up.
Yeah.
Damn.
I thought for sure there'd be another fun name in there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's the one name I don't want to say because they made good, but it was I was very disappointed in let's drop it because I don't want to go into
Jeff Heelan says, does Jeff have one more King of the Mountain match left in him?
Oh,
that's interesting.
I'd love to, yes, I would. You know what? I'd like to see one with the athletes of today. We had, I don't know however many we had from when it was created, those 4, 5, 6 years run, but having a monster like Abyss in it and having an AJ Styles that can do certain things and dive off the cage and the timing of in the penalty box, there you can get some real drama in that. And, people, what's the elimination chamber? Those are chambers on each corner and the guys that sit there and watch it. And I get it, but the King of the Mountain match through the years has been criticized, and I think a narrative. But that was something that me and Abyss later, way later, after that, we used to talk about the simplicity that the complicated narrative, in my opinion, can just be nuked if people will sit down and say, all right, this is a simple match. You get pinned, you throw in the penalty box. It's just that simple. You got to get a pin to qualify to win the match. It's not that hard. And a good storyteller like Abyss in a match could really put a good one together. I'd love for Abyss to produce one today with the athletes of today.
Let me just freestyle a fantasy hypothetical. Let's pretend that hypothetically you have retired from in-ring competition. You're no longer working in an official capacity for AEW, and TNA decided to run a King of the Mountain match, and they bring you back for it. One last match in TNA. Would that be something you would even be interested in, going back to the promotion you built for just one last match? Or do you think that ship has sailed, or is not even something you think about?
I don't really think about that. And, because you could get down rabbit holes and stuff like that. And that but it's not like that's not a knock on TNA. It's not a knock on anything. I just don't, my brain really doesn't go there. Today on air, we talked about Ric Flair's last match, Conrad, and the guy said, oh my God, he said, I thought I hated you as a kid. And we went into this and he said, he was at the press conference, Conrad, with Mike Keith and the mayor's office folks there. They were there, and he kind of witnessed and the feel good and the kind of the back and forth and all that. And he said, then I go home and my kid comes into me, and I knew I had seen you that day. He came down, he's a big fan, and brought his kid. They left, went on about their way, but did they see it when it came out online, whatever, following up on that. And he's just like, my fandom went right back to those days on, damn, you are a real prick. So I don't know, Conrad, I don't know where I was going with that, but I don't really think about that in review mirror or what's going to happen next. I don't. I'm very grateful. Heading in to my 40th career, and we've talked about some things. And that first match in my hometown last month, and we've got that documentary still being put together and worked on, and bits and pieces of that. There's some parts of that I just look at it and I just go, man, I am one lucky dude. So no, I don't really look at those hypotheticals, if you will.
Well, hypothetically, I know how you can get a clean butt thanks to our friends at Tushy. I got to tell you, if you're not already using Tushy, you're probably like a caveman. I mean, serious business. I've had a Tushy in my home for years and years. I have them on every toilet and every property I occupy, even here at the office, because Tushy is the everyday luxury bidet that instantly transforms your bathroom habits and your bottom health for life. And whether you're shopping for a bro, a CEO, a daddy, an activist, or someone who lights their farts on fire, it's the gift that refuses to pick a lane. Luxurious, practical, techy, easy to use. And 99% of people who wash with Tushy Wave feel cleaner and fresher after going to the bathroom. The Tushy Wave will instantly modernize your daily routine and bathroom with a super sleek seat, plus 2 separate front and rear nozzles for your most complete clean. It also features a soft close lid and a seat that's slam proof for a gentle, luxurious finish. Every Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet without the need of additional plumbing. This is daily decadence with practical benefits. Over half the people who wash with Tushy soothe their hemorrhoids. 9 out of 10 people reduce their itching and discomfort. But instead of endlessly wiping with toilet paper, Tushy pristinely removes 99% of the bacteria with just one natural ingredient. That's right, fresh water. And it's so easy to install. I mean, you can do it in like 10 minutes. Literally anyone can do it. And how about this? People who use Tushy say they're using 80% less toilet paper. No more clogged toilets, no more wasting money on something that does an inferior job. And every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and a 12-month warranty. Remember, a-hole is only a naughty word if you wipe. For a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the code MyWorld at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with the promo code MyWorld. Jeff, we've got some more questions here I want to hit. I want to do some that we missed in our previous Ask Jeff Anything. This is a pretty good question. Stephen Mosley wants to know, the multicolored tights we saw in WWE, why didn't you ever wear those in WCW your first go around? It's just white.
Yep. Good question. Maybe even importantly, but better observation. If I recall that I went with the white, kind of being because we've talked about it here on the pod. I was really geared up. Kevin Sullivan incentivized me, energized me. I really thought we were going down that road of Jeff and Rick and the Flair and the Four Horsemen story. And I think I just kind of decided to stay with white all the way through. I don't think any master plan or thought through that. That was just my mindset working with Rick and wanting to go down that road.
I wanted to hit a few more questions in our live chat, but before we do, I wanted to ask you if you saw some things that have been happening recently. I can't believe this is real, but John Cena actually took to Twitter earlier today and posted a tweet that I thought was kind of unusual for wrestling, but kind of cool. I wanted to get your take on it. He posted a tweet with his doctor, his hair transplant doctor, and he acknowledged that he was in Atlanta for a follow-up. I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard of a guy just straight up embracing? I mean, a lot of people, it feels like they would be shy from their shortcomings. And Cena tweets, another great visit to the Anderson Center for Hair. Been about 1 year since Ken Anderson, MD, operated. And what a transformation it's been. Got to take care of his work. So I stay up with my maintenance. Good on him for being so open and transparent and vulnerable. That doesn't seem like something people in the celebrity space do very often.
I smell dollars.
You don't think he's getting a hookup. That's not what you're saying. You're saying it's a paid post. He did it for a trade. He did it for a tweet. There's no way.
I'm not saying it's a trade by any stretch.
Oh, they're paying.
Yeah. But I mean, he's getting into the world of, he's the voice of Honda, and I'm sure that's a pretty payday. And he's great guy, great ambassador. Like it's not like it's a big secret. I would assume. I knew he's thinning, but I don't think it was that big a deal. But well, let me ask you, why wouldn't it be a paid endorsement? I'm asking. I just don't think it's a freebie. That don't pass the sniff test for me.
I do think it's a freebie. I mean, when he bought his dad a Honda, he tweeted about it. And I know he's the voice of Honda, but I'm just saying, anytime there's something that's negative, I feel like he kind of embraces it. I think a lot of people who run away from it, he embraces it and shares it. And I think he realizes, hey, rather than pretending like it's not a thing and being inauthentic, I think he really believes all that shit that most people think he's just spewing nonsense. And he really believes, hey, if I'm just honest about this can be celebrated, as opposed to it being something people make fun of. Something a lot of fat kids used to do at the lunch table. If they start with a fat joke, self-deprecating humor.
Okay.
You take the power away.
Yeah. Oh, I'm totally dialed in. I kind of get that psychology, but I'm also would believe that John and his handlers said, hey, let's beat this to the punch. Let's not only do some self-deprecating and all this, but let's get paid for it as well. I don't know. The influencer model today in advertising, I don't have to tell you, we're living a different era, completely different era. It's not marketing 101, and I don't know. I would say by him posting that, and conveniently, he gave the title. The guy in the scrubs has got the logo front and center. I don't believe in coincidences. Emery's there, Anderson Hair. I don't know, Connie. My gut tells me there's a little payola around here. And look, Jesus, hats off to him. Smart.
I love that you're forever the cynic. Since I got you on that frame of mind, let me ask you about another post that went out today.
Oh boy.
Sid Vicious's son, Gunnar Udy, is raising money for his first wrestling ring, and he's doing it for all the right reasons, according to @Book Pro Wrestlers. He's launching the first annual Psycho Sid Memorial Benefit Show, with 100% of the profits going to local animal shelters in Crittenden County, because that's what his dad loved the most. And we see a photo here. I think it's cool that we're seeing Sid's son rubbing elbows in the wrestling space. I mean, this is an old Memphis guy. What do you think of this thing?
I've worked today. I love this, man. Damn, that's super cool. Yeah. Old Arkansas boy. Sid, I've told that story a few times. First time I laid eyes on him was in Nashville Sports Arena. He drove up and Tojo was training him, and I'm a skinny little basketball player. And at that time, probably when I saw Sid, might have been the biggest human being I'd ever laid eyes on up close, because basketball players are tall and skinny and all this. And Sid was a mountain of a man, and him doing Hindu squats and Tojo training him and doing a few flatbacks in there is interesting. That's cool. That's a very cool post. That just came out today, Conrad?
It did. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I missed that.
Did you have a chance to catch any of Monday Night Raw last night?
Oh my gosh. Don't start about fantasy football. My QB Baker, he gets out at halftime on Sunday.
I didn't ask Monday Night Football.
And I know, but I'm saying I had Monday Night Football on and I had Raw on. So I was watching both.
Did you see Lesnar's new gimmick?
Buddy,
they debuted a new gimmick for him.
What's the
here it is if you missed it at home.
Blades of Glory of Will Ferrell. He's like Ice Skater. Is it Brock's?
No, even better. It's a nostalgia wrestling play. Let's take a look.
Okay.
He's the Shockmaster 2.0. They're bringing it back. What's old is new again. This Saturday at Survivor Series, somebody in WWE, I'm talking to you, prop department, you sons of bitches better put some glitter on a Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet. We need to see Sid walk to the ring. Because if you'll recall, They did this. That fall happened on the way to a War Games. I'm not making this up. They were introducing our mystery partner. The fifth man is the Shockmaster. And here he comes, busting ass in jeans.
Now, hold on. We've lightened it in a bottle because we have the pieces of player. You just showed Gunner, and Gunner can play the part, obviously, of his father. Get Booker, but Booker was on set.
Yep.
And look,
Sting's retired. He's available.
Or the kids.
Okay.
I mean, we've kind of got the recipe here. Now you gotta have. We have Billington, so that's kind of Dynamite, British Bulldog, because wasn't Bulldog?
Well, you can get Harry. You can get his actual son.
What am I thinking, Harry?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got all the players. Now, do you have the clip of Shockmaster in real time?
We can't show it.
Okay.
WWE will pull it. So that's all I can show you because they don't want you to know that this weekend at Survivor Series,
Okay.
not making this up, Lesnar's coming out in a Star Wars helmet.
Oh my God.
He's the new Shockmaster.
that image right there. Think about the poor old Fred. Think about that's Big Bubba. Bench press, 2 mobile double wide units, and the boy fell right through and had nothing but chuckles from Sid and Booker and Davey.
My favorite is the exasperated, oh God.
Wait,
By the way,
who said
before,
that? Oh God.
I don't remember Sid
Yeah.
or Davey Boy. But here's what I do know. You were probably saying, oh God, a lot last night during Monday Night Football. But do you know about the 3 T's of Thanksgiving? Turkey for eating, table for gathering, and touchdowns for winning, thanks to our friends at DraftKings.
Yes, sir.
With the DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in before dessert. With DraftKings Sportsbook, all the action's in your hands. First touchdown, anytime TD, live bets, every play, every snap, every game counts. And when the games get good, the bets get better. And here's the best part. New customers bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. How can you beat that? It's worth repeating. New customers bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. When touchdowns happen, we feast. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code MyWorld. That's code MyWorld. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccp.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. All right. I can't believe this is real.
I can't believe it's real.
I am going to regret bringing this up to you.
Oh, no, you're not. It's Turkey Week. Come on with it.
I probably shouldn't do this.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Silva?
Bret Hart has made some headlines this week.
Oh, no.
I don't know if you've seen this or heard this, but he did an interview recently on the Johnny I Pro show. And Bret Hart said, quote, I think Shawn and Vince were sleeping with each other. I'm just telling you. I think I'm very close to the truth here. When I look back, it's like I got caught between 2 lovers. Shawn was so envious and jealous of my position that he finally had to sleep with Vince to get it. I would say it to Shawn if he was right here. I'd tell them both, I think you guys were lovers. Jeff Jarrett, we'll go to a full screen shot here at Double J.
Question? I feel like I'm on the stand. So,
well, it's called My World with Jeff Jarrett. I read you a news story. Now, this is the part where you respond to it, bud.
We can probably laugh and cut up about all this, but in a lot of ways, this is a very, and I'm chuckling as I'm thinking about different roads we may or may not go down, and Trigger Cheese is chuckling right along with us because in a lot of ways, it's almost sad. And, Bret, to my knowledge, is, he's not in the social media, podcast, YouTube, clickbait. I don't think he's monetizing these comments. That's what I'll say diplomatically. So I think he's saying this. And I think I heard you just say that Shawn was so envious of his position that was the, I guess, move that he made to counter, pardon the pun, to leapfrog to get on top. Can I say a two-shot? Conrad, what do you right? I mean,
the phrasing to get on top was right on time for me. Thank you.
That's kind of where I was going with it.
I mean, we don't know what all Shawn had to go through to make the boyhood dream come.
Now, neither guy was on bottom, nor Vince or Shawn or Bret.
I don't think it works that way.
Vince. Oh, well, yeah. In the wrestling business, you have a top guy, and you can call a curtain jerker. He's working on the bottom of the card. That's.
So which one of these guys do you think was jerking curtain here?
Are you stressing jerking?
I'm using your phrase. You said one of them was on top, one of them was jerking curtain.
Conrad, I'm trying to make like this is. Did Bret really say that he believes they were lovers?
I read the exact quote. Yeah.
Come on, Bret. That's where it just kind of. I think you lose everything, and I hate for Bret in this generation to be remembered, and I think that's because that now it's I know Bret, love Bret. I think he says things, and I don't think he's in. Again, I'm not seeing video of this, so maybe he said it tongue in cheek or having a good time, or Conrad, me and you say crazy stuff, but it sounds like he said this in a semi-serious tone. And here it is in 2025, and we're talking about something that happened in 1997, right? So this is 28 years ago. Has Bret ever said anything in this tone, in this manner? Has he ever? Conrad, you would know better than me. I don't think he's ever said anything like this, right?
I mean, I don't think he's ever done an interview where he said these guys were lovers. No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So why now? And again, I hate it. And again, Bret's living his own life, doing his own thing, living life exactly how he wants to. But it feels like Bret has done these interviews one after another, after another, after another. Nothing's positive out of it. And look, this is where it kind of hits home for me that, hey, man, we've all had our ups and downs. I hate it that Bret suffered the concussion and the subsequent injuries and how that retired him and all of this kind of stuff. Look, it's very, very unfortunate, but he had an incredible career up till that stage. And then he got to come back and he got to have the WrestleMania. I mean, you know how many wrestlers would literally do anything to swap their career out with the Bret Hart career? I mean, he's had a fantastic life and a fantastic career. I hate for him to be so negative, and 28 years later, he's coming out with this statement. And look, I'll just say it, I mean, you think Owen wishes he could have had the career? I mean, it's just why? I mean, yeah, he's obviously to this day very bitter about Vince and Shawn. That's unfortunate, but we all go through ups and downs, and we all have tough crosses to bear. And I just wish Bret would remember the good times as opposed to really saying lightning rod comments. That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. I kind of think he was saying it comedically.
Okay.
And we're hearing it out of context, and people are
I hope
taking it
so.
as absolute fact
I
because
hope so. I do.
it's not like Shawn Michaels needed to prove his worth. I think most people agree he's one of the best of all time. What are we talking about?
That's where it lost me. That's where I think, but come on. I mean, envious of his position. I just got a news flash. Brett, zero chance of that. Like zero. But I'm hoping he said it comedic. I hope he said it jokingly. I hope he said it was fun. I hope the host was having fun. I hope they were exchanging fun stories, and this just kind of came off the cope. I do. I certainly hope that.
I mean, it's kind of out of left field. It's a little silly.
28 years ago, and now that, to my knowledge, first time Brett's ever said anything like that.
Well, the boyhood dream came true 29 years ago, believe it or not. So it's nearly 30 years later that I guess we would say Shawn took Brett's spot. But I don't know. Call me crazy. I kind of thought it was because of all the 5-star matches he had and the way he was selling merch. But
well, and see, here's where and I know the business has changed and evolved, but if you look at both guys, they both worked the territory systems kind of on the last legs, both of them. They both got into the WWF in the Hogan era, mid 80s, if you will. Shawn was in the Rockers. Bret was in the Hart Foundation. One was babyface, one was heel. They kind of worked their way up. Then all of a sudden, Pat Patterson. Hey, Vince, I think this guy in this tag, I think there's more money in him as a single. He is a hell of a hand and can have a match with anybody. You could be saying that about Shawn or Bret. Okay, let's do that. All right, let's work them with this opponent and let's work it around the IC title. Both of them had the match of the night, show after show after show after show after show. When the opportunity came along, boom. Okay. I mean, they both became world champion. I don't see how in the world any stretch of the imagination that, anyway, I'm hoping he said it tongue in cheek.
it's gotta be tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that people are sort of on the bandwagon right now about, hey, we hate Vince McMahon and Vince McMahon's a bad person. And I get all that, but to say that, I don't know, it just feels weird. But since we're on the topic, do you just want to tell us all the other wrestlers you think slept with Vince so they could get a push? I mean, you were Intercontinental champ 6 times. How many times did you have to do it, Jeff?
Oh, somebody asked me today about the heat seat. And I said, it comes naturally. If you're successful in this business, you are going to get daggers thrown in your back, in your chest, in your head, from the left, from the right. It is what it is. So success equals heat in this business, and always has and always will. I think at the end of the day, the decisions I made in TNA that Uncle Dave and others just piled on, did we set the woods on fire? No, but we were the company that they are going out of business next week. Oh no, they're still in business. The Carters are pulling the plug. Nope. Matter of fact, they ran off an investor. Oh, they're dead. They're all Fox Sports Net for the whole summer. Oh, they got a Spike deal. Oh, it's late Saturday night. They're never going to last. They're dead. They're dead. They're dead. It's just that whole narrative that gets out there. And that's the society people love to dogpile on certain things and ride it into the ground, and they want to believe their story as opposed to the truth.
Well, we want to know what you guys think is the truth. I mean, I think this is the silliest conversation we've ever had here on the show, but does anybody believe this or take it seriously? Andrew Dice Clay is with us here live. Shout out to one of our favorite followers.
He is gonna.
And he said Road Warrior Hawk said it first about Shawn and Vince. Now that I did not know.
Woo! See, and you know what? Ian and others.
Oh wow! Ian's also saying Bret said it on Howard Stern back in '99.
I kid you not. Ian and others start putting the pieces. There you go.
I still don't believe it, but damn, I didn't know somebody was saying it in '99.
And why didn't it make headlines back then? And maybe it did. You know what I mean? Maybe it did. Wow. That's really interesting. Like there's a certain politician in Nashville right now that made some unbelievably scathing comments. And I'm hearing it for the first time on my local news. I think it's making national news, but I'm like, why didn't we hear about this when it was actually being said? A politician who hates everything about Nashville, yet she won a county seat or a congressional seat or something like that. Damn, Ian. So Stern in 1999 was the most listened to, or one of the most listened to. I mean, massive. And look, again, maybe tongue in cheek with Stern. You never know on his show, but that's interesting. That really is. Ian, always appreciate your comments, and I appreciate you listening.
By the way, he gives a big fan of Ian, and he had this to say: Bret's in his late 60s with brain trauma that led to a stroke. A lot of wild statements and differing of moods come with brain injuries. He brings us back down to reality. Appreciate the perspective.
Well said. I mean, that is health, brother. Mental health is a deal with. Yeah, it's tough. That's a sobering comment there, Ian, and I appreciate it.
Hey, I want to ask you about another controversy that's got people stirred up, and I guess I pissed some people off on Twitter today. It was a slow day, I guess. But I don't know that you've seen this. Have you heard that there is a contingent of fans online who are upset that AEW has a national title?
Upset? Wait, like it's called the national, or something about the belt? Or
the belt.
What I mean, but you're the belt guy.
Yeah. Thank you.
But aren't we talking two different designs here?
Nope. I'm glad you said that. But yes, we are. So let's go down your rabbit hole first. I think Silva may have the NWA national title, the one they're using today.
And
they do call it a national title.
Pronouns, pal. Who's they?
The NWA.
Okay.
I said, my bad. I thought I said NWA, but this is the NWA national title, the one they're using now.
It's huge, right? Well,
yes. It's an homage to the old US title that's shaped like the United States. And it's a big red crocodile type leather, but it's the shape of the US belt, and it's the same style that like Flair held when he was the US champ way back when.
Yep.
That is the belt design that the NWA is using right now.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Ricochet debuted a different design. I guess he didn't debut it, but he won it this past weekend at Full Gear. And it's a classic Reggie Parks design. As you know, Dave Milliken, one of yours and my friends, is a part of the LLC, the corporation that Reggie Parks used to be a part of. He's no longer with us, but it was Rico Mann, Dave Milliken, and Reggie Parks. I think it's called Parks, Milliken, and Mann. Anyway, they designed this belt, and it's clearly an homage to the old national title that was on TBS. Now, a lot of people say, oh my God, they're ripping off the NWA. But this is a whole controversy about nothing. Because if you'll recall, Georgia Championship Wrestling actually started on WTBS back in 72. And they took their regional promotion, and as the Superstation got bigger and bigger, they realized, wait a minute, this is no longer just an Atlanta station. This thing is a Superstation. It's everywhere. So in 1980, they introduced the national title. Now, that national title was a GCW, not Game Changer, but Georgia Championship Wrestling. And then later, we would see guys like Tully Blanchard carried around on TBS in, say, 85 for Jim Crockett Promotions. But that same design, Jeff, was also used for the NWA television title, the one like Arn Anderson held. But that same design was also used as the WWF's big belt. Like Hulk Hogan, after he won the ugly green monstrosity, he went to that exact same design. So there's this discussion online that, oh my God, Billy Corgan's going to sue Tony Khan. And it's like, what? The belt maker owns the design. He's made this same belt with different letters on it over and over and over since 1980. But there's this tribalism that's anti-AEW that's like, I can't believe Tony Khan would do that, when the belt that the NWA is actually using looks nothing like this right now. What it does have in common is the word national. What are we talking about? Like, does that mean that other promotions can't say world champion or television champion? Where's the line? This is silly, right?
Conrad, you laid it out there in about 3 minutes. This is the kind of conversation that exhausts me. It's so silly. It's ridiculous. Yeah, we probably should comment it on here on My World and get my useless 2 cents out about it, but it's silly. I didn't even know right then. So the WWF, not WWF, the WWF used that exact same design as their
Twice. There were 2 versions of it that Hogan carried, one with paint, one with less paint. But in 84 and 85,
okay,
that was their world title, same design.
So then that's just, I hate to say it, and I love wrestling fans of all kinds, but there's some really naive or people who just want to chatter. I hate to say it. That just nonsense. That is really nonsense.
Look at the belt over your shoulder, the Intercontinental title. The CMLL belt has looked like that for 40 years. In ECW, Taz carried around the TV title. It looked just like the Winged Eagle. The tag belts look just like your Intercontinental belt. Like, the companies don't own these designs. The guys who create them do. And then they do a licensing deal. But everybody online is saying, I can't believe Tony Khan is ripping off Billy Corgan. And it's like, wait, what? How?
Again, haters, what was the question? One of the questions to me today that they said, do you think Tony Khan and or Triple H get unfairly criticized? I said, you lost me at unfairly. They literally, as a part of their job description, it is 101, and Dutch always coined it best. If creative is good, talent gets all the credit. If creative is bad, then those 2 guys get all the credit. And it's never, ever that clear cut. Is it the song or the singer? We could go down that road over and over and over. Do they get criticized? Yes. Is it unfairly? I think that's totally subjective, and it comes with the territory. Both guys will tell you, and anybody that sat in that seat, it's part of the job. Oh,
the thing that's crazy about this to me too is, again, why did Georgia Championship Wrestling create a national title, Jeff? Because they had national exposure on what station? What station was it?
Oh, it went, TBS, the Superstation, when it turned in. So let me ask you, did Tommy Rich was he ever the national champion?
I don't know.
Georgia days? I wonder. Anyway, that's a random question, but probably was. In the Georgia days. So what was it called before national, when it was just a Georgia title? You just said
no. They added another belt.
Okay.
So this is not the big belt. They added another belt because so instead of calling it a TV title, they had a national title because they had national TV. My point I was trying to make is, if Tony is trying to pay homage to something, because people get lost in this all the time too. Did the Crockett's own the NWA?
They owned it about like TNA did.
Nobody, there was that. So that's just such a misnomer. How do people not know that? Tony Schiavone never got a check from the NWA. Tony Schiavone was employed by Jim Crockett Promotions, and they had a partnership with the National Wrestling Alliance. And the big gold belt that sits over my shoulder here does not say NWA, because they thought they were leaving and they were going to compete with Vince, and they didn't need the NWA. They were bigger than the NWA. But when people think of wrestling on TBS, they probably think of the NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, and Tony Schiavone. So why not, when you're introducing the title and the idea of the concept, have Tony Schiavone introduce it? He called all those classic matches with Tully and so many others, but he's synonymous with TBS. So it's not like Tony Khan is watching fucking YouTube for the NWA show and saying, I like that belt, go get me that belt. No, it's a classic design that everybody's used, including the WWF. It's a silly conversation, Jeff.
Silly. It's nonsense. Total nonsense. Total nonsense.
Did we just create a name for a new podcast? Total nonsense. All right, we'll come up with something. But
there you go.
I'm just saying. In the meantime, let me give you a heads up on what you can come up with for the ultimate Christmas present for the person in your life who has a handgun for self-defense. This is a serious topic, but we're going to give you a serious deal just in time for the holidays. If you or a loved one own a handgun for self-defense, your storage is probably fitting into one of two pretty frustrating categories. It's either locked away, meaning it's safe, but it's out of reach in case of an emergency, or it's uncensored, which means you've left it vulnerable to anyone. Well, Stopbox USA solved the problem and designed a groundbreaking solution, the Stopbox Pro. With the Stopbox Pro, you'll never have to choose between security and readiness again. Its ingenious push-button locking system gives you fast, reliable access when every second matters without the hassle of keys or reliance on batteries. We're talking 100% mechanical, so it works every time, no power needed. And with Stopbox USA, you finally have both security and readiness. The Stopbox Pro's mechanical keyless system allows for fast, secure access without the risk of fumbling for keys when every second counts. It's also battery-free, so you never have to worry about your lock not working. And with the holidays coming up, there's never been a better time to upgrade your home security or give the peace of mind to someone you care about. Whether it's for your own nightstand or a loved one who takes safety seriously, the Stopbox Pro delivers perfect balance of protection and preparedness. All of the Stopbox products are proudly made here in the USA. Stopbox Pro is even TSA compliant. The holidays just got a little safer and a whole heck of a lot more affordable. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting a crazy deal. Not only can you get 10% off your entire order when you use the code Jarrett10 at stopboxusa.com, but they're also hooking you up with a buy one, get one free for their Stopbox Pro. That's 10% off and a free Stopbox Pro when you use the code Jarrett10 at stopboxusa.com. So Jeff, as we're winding down today's episode, we got a bunch of questions here. We want to try to hit as many of these as we can.
Fire away, pal.
Let's see if we can find a good one here. Here we go. Mr. T 94 says, piggybacking from the other question, what if TNA had Angle, Guerrero, and Chris Benoit added to their roster? Could you imagine that match with that roster? AJ Styles, Joe, Abyss, sign me up. Was there ever even a preliminary discussion or a feeling out period at all with Guerrero and Benoit before they passed away? Or did you just not have the resources at that time?
Didn't have the resources. I will say this, doing the podcast, I've got a buddy at the gym that we do cardio sometimes, specifically on Sunday at the same time. And he's a business guy and we talk about kind of life lessons. We're about the same age. There's one thing, and we've covered this a couple of different times. When I look back and look, running a very tight P&L and our budget, we got Kurt and we were kind of budget busting when different things were added, but I'm saying 07, 08, 09, you look at that window, and I know we've talked about Punk, but I'll call it the one that got away. We're talking about Guerrero. I don't think he was ever even interested or come up, or Chris neither, but maybe one of my all-time favorites and maybe the best storyteller, in-ring storyteller of all time, Bryan Danielson. I could have had an opportunity. So that's one of the things I've learned as I continue to grow, and I got some baseball things going, a lot of fun things going on in my out of ring business life, that I've learned that keep my eyes open. Although it may not look possible from a financial, maybe figure out ways to get there, because just think if Brian would have come on board. Yeah, I'd love to have had Benoit, or that maybe, who knows how that could have changed things. But, Eddie, what incredible in-ring talents that to add to the, because we had a stacked roster. I look, Joe's champion in 2025 in 2008. Joe, a young guy, and he was rolling in the matches him and Kurt had. I feel like we had a really strong roster. Throw in a Guerrero, throw in a Benoit, throw in a Bryan Danielson. Good gosh, Conrad. Unbelievable.
Hey, I want to give a cheap plug. I know that you won't care either, but earlier today, I recorded our Thanksgiving episode with Jim Ross.
Oh boy.
And we tried something new.
Oh.
The same day that TNA was debuting on Spike, October 1st, 2005, in New York at the New Yorker Hotel, Kenta Kobashi had one of his first matches ever in America. He had previously worked for Harley Race's independent promotion in Missouri, but this was what we might call the first big time, if you even want to call Ring of Honor that, match against Samoa Joe, a guy I know you were really banking on in 2005 to be a big part of TNA. And they had a 5-star classic. But if you'll recall, that footage never had commentary. This Thursday at grillingjr.com, the voice of wrestling lays down commentary. How fun of an idea is that?
Holy crap, Conrad.
That's a good idea.
In the New Yorker?
Yes.
You know, the last Outlaw whooped Effie's ass in that building, but that has one of those vibes of an arena. So, Conrad, we'll use my real estate here. Tell folks how, when, and where, because Jim Ross calling the current AEW World Champion, maybe his first 5-star match against a legendary opponent. And damn, dude.
Kenta Kobashi had never been to the United States. You know, by 88, All Japan was not sending their young guys on excursion anymore. So by the time he comes over, Kenta had already, Kobashi, Mr. Kobashi, had already won Wrestler of the Year 3 times. He'd already had Match of the Year 5 times. And I think this is actually Samoa Joe's 3rd or 4th 5-star match. But so you've got the best, because in 05, Samoa Joe was already one of the best. He's coming off of the previous December, a 21-month reign as the Ring of Honor champion. And earlier that March, Kobashi had lost the NOAH world title, the GHC, after 2 years of a run there. So you've got 2 of the guys, the best of all time. And now we've got JR doing commentary on it. So as you're getting ready for your Turkey Day celebration this Thursday, waiting on friends and family to come over, bright and early at grillingjr.com on YouTube for free, you can watch the match, thanks to Tony Khan and Ring of Honor allowing us to show you the footage. But for the first time ever with JR's commentary, I'm freaking excited about that, Jeff.
Damn, dude. It drops Thursday morning.
Thanksgiving, something to be thankful for.
Get my gym's open on Thanksgiving morning. I'm running up there to do cardio. I already got my workout scheduled for the next 7 days. That's my cardio watching Thursday morning, Conrad. So you can know that I'm going to get. Damn, dude, that fires me up. Good stuff. Good for good old JR.
Let's talk about TNA, because that same day that match is happening, you're debuting on Spike. There's been lots of rumor and innuendo about where TNA may be headed next. Trigger Cheese says, thoughts on TNA possibly going with AMC. Have you heard this? What do you think about this? TNA on AMC, the same channel that brought you The Walking Dead, and I think Mad Men, now may actually bring you TNA. What do you think?
Well, it's funny how in today's 6 interviews, whatever I did, different things come up. And, when you're talking to a sports guy or a political talk show, I did one of those today, Conrad, the different things come up. But it goes without saying, all of AEW's comments on HBO Max, Peacock, Netflix, all the streamers and all this, I can't tell you how, even internally, there were some folks within TNA that really criticized us in the United Kingdom. Hey, Jeff, and if you're still watching, you can throw a comment on this, but we got criticized internally. What in the hell are you going to be putting TNA programming? Why are you putting Impact on Challenge TV? Jeff, do you understand that as a game show network? Do you understand that, you're rubbing elbows with the wrong? Do you understand they're never going to find you? All the reasons why it wouldn't work. The beautiful thing about professional wrestling, and that is since the day long before I was around, they put it on Saturday mornings opposite cartoons, because not everybody likes cartoons. Saturday night, late night, wrestling audience will always find you. You just got to stay consistent. When we put on Challenge, how quickly it shot up in the ratings, and then we found our niche, and it goes, and I'm not just saying a pat on the back, but our ratings compared to Sky and WWE's ratings during this era dwarf. We blew them out of the water because we were free to air, consistent, and they found us. If TNA is going to AMC networks, and if they're consistent in their time slot, and I'm not even saying they got to put a huge marketing campaign. It's just on a platform. What are they in? 60 million homes? My guess is they're full distribution, roughly about that. It's good for the industry. There's no doubt about it. It'll be good for the industry.
Can't wait to see what happens next. And you are correct, according to Google AI. But, they also said you were a
11-time
Yeah.
14.
But they say 60 million households as of late 2024.
Yeah.
Derek Bergen over on Twitter wanted to know, can Double J compare and contrast the pros and cons of working out of the Nashville Fairgrounds compared to the Impact Zone at Universal Orlando? For example, I can imagine TNA could do whatever they wanted in TNA, but Universal had rules about what could or could not be used in vignettes, rides, etc. What was the biggest difference?
Look, I don't want to get too long-winded here. The simple deal is, in the early days of the Impact Zone in Orlando, by contract, by our agreement, we had to let park guests. Literally, it was a park experience. It was marketed that way. You could go ride the Hulk. You could go see Harry, before Harry Potter, but you could Woody Woodpecker, whatever it may be, Rock and Roller Coaster. But you could come to see professional wrestling, and they put our brand on there. But they had to let a certain amount of park guests that would come in, and some of them just would stay, half the show because their little kids or whoever went on. But so as we were getting the product up and running, dealing with park guests was a challenge. At the sports arena, South Nashville, you were dealing with seasoned wrestling fans that knew the product, loved it, understood the simple psychology. Man, there were some really fun rocking nights. I say a lot of fun rocking nights in the Asylum. It's invaluable to me, for it stabilized us and gave us a real set ground. There's a feature in the Tennessean, Conrad, coming out. I think it's coming out tonight, but it's going to be a feature in this Sunday's paper. And Mike Organ, writer locally, and it kind of spurred from a match in Hendersonville, but he went and kind of did a history piece on it. But I talk in depth about how valuable the Nashville sports arena are to my family. My dad's promotion in the 70s, my grandmother working out there, then the early 80s, and Andy Kaufman and the heyday of the territory, if you will. And then, almost 20 years later with TNA, super valuable. So sports arena, it was built specifically for wrestling, believe it or not. So it's really, you aren't comparing apple to apples when you compare a soundstage to a sports arena.
Francis Reyes, who's with us here on Twitter, says more people in the UK would watch TNA on Challenge TV as it was free to air. Andrew Dice Clay says Challenge TV was on Freeview in the UK. It was a genius move to put TNA on there. And shout out to a new listener who says, just started listening to this podcast 3 days ago and I'm obsessed. Hey man, we appreciate you tagging along.
Come on.
Listen, next week we're going to be talking about Gail Kim. Before we get out of here, Alex Podcast Network wanted to know, are you going to read the other super chats? I just did. And that'll do it for us. Be sure to tune in to Double J tomorrow night, live in Nashville. Rumor and innuendo is it's him and Samoa Joe in the main event. Going to make it feel like an old school TNA show. We know what's going to happen. Well, listen, you started your year by saying that you had a goal, and by God, you're in your hometown. You're naming it and claiming it. I see it hiding behind you over your head. Like,
get in full circle, pal. It's what it's about.
I mean, listen, he's already, he's hurting for certain. I don't know if you saw the blood gushing out of his head the other night, but I think the Last Outlaw could come up with an idea or two, and you may come home 10 or 15 pounds heavier tomorrow night.
I love it. I like your thinking, Pally. Love your thinking. Appreciate you today, my man.
I appreciate you. Hope you guys had fun hanging out with us. We're going to talk about Jeff's feature in the Tennessean next week. We'll also be talking about Gail Kim, and we're going to be talking about Jeff's favorite promos, who he thought was best on interviews. We want to know from you. What are your questions about Gail Kim? Did you check out the Tennessean article? And most importantly, who are the best 5 interviews in your opinion? Let us know right here, and we'll see you next week right here on My World.